me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
But this job is great because of the people. And that really hit me how the script was flipped. And a lot of times in our career, people are something to endure. His framework, his why, it's because of the people that I'm here. It's because the impact that I have, it's the difference I make in people's lives, it's the smiles I get to put on others' faces. I encourage everyone, Parks and Rec people alike, whether you're in Parks and Rec or you're just in a city with a park, go walk into any neighborhood park or any community center and just start looking at what's around you. What's the value of it? And you start counting the trees. How old are these trees? And you'll find underneath these trees, kids playing, couples walking, picnics, walking trails interweaved all in between them. And what are people doing? They're just unplugging for a minute, putting themselves in nature. All right, we are live again here with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I'm your host, Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, here Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern. I am so fortunate now to not have a guest today because I've had just back-to-back guests coming on the show. I had to reschedule a guest and I wasn't able to fill in this time slot. But I wanted to sit back and reflect what it's like covering this industry, what I've learned I now have spoken to on the phone for an hour to over 300 Parks and Rec professionals, mostly directors, some assistant directors and superintendents in there, and a few people outside that category as well, especially in maintenance. And we're coming up on our 100th episode, and I have just had some deep reflections here about this industry that I wanted to share with you guys. Specifically, I talked to a guy named Kevin Adams. He's in Park Forest, Illinois, it's a suburb of Chicago. And man, he was just expressing his deep care for this industry and what it's meant to him and why he's here. He said, and I'm not going to give away too much because he is going to have an awesome show whenever he comes on. Shout out to Kevin Adams. But he said something yesterday that really impacted me, and I want to share with the group, maybe leading up to his show. But I asked him, as I do many Parks and Rec directors, what is your why? Why are you here? Why haven't you left yet? It seems like y'all go through so many trials and tribulations, uncertainty, doubt, lack of funding, lack of manpower, and you have so many great things that you could do with your city, so much impact that's being made, and yet you just seem to be always a little bit short of cash and manpower to do, too little stuff to do, too many things to accomplish. And so sometimes you can imagine it's kind of maddening. But yet here, the Parks and Rec departments are, day in and day out, just showing up, doing a great job, giving it their all. And so I was like, so why? Why do you stay? What keeps you here? What keeps you coming back? What keeps you excited about staying in this industry? And he says, most jobs would be great if not for the people. And I've heard a lot of teachers say this, that if not for the staff, if not for, all the parents, if not for all this stuff, I could really enjoy my job teaching the little kids. Maybe we could say in other careers, man, if it weren't for the people, I really enjoy my engineering. If it weren't for the people, I really enjoy, fill in the blank. He said, but this job is great because of the people. And that really hit me how the script was flipped. That a lot of times in our career, people are something to endure. And his framework, his why, it's because of the people that I'm here. It's because the impact that I have, it's the difference I make in people's lives, it's the smiles I get to put on others' faces. And it's almost like, in addition to that, they pay me to do this versus I'm only here for the money. Like the money's really good and that's why I'm here. That's what we hear in most careers. I just can't make this kind of money anywhere else. But what are you trading for that? It's a lot of times it's almost like this soul destroying career that we find ourselves in. But I find people in Parks and Rec really, it's almost like they get 10 paychecks. One paycheck is like US dollars. And then they always get pretty good benefits when you work for a municipality. So that's the kind of paychecks we're used to being. That's the compensation. Let's put it that way. That's the compensation most of us get in our careers. Paycheck, maybe some benefits. And so Parks and Rec people get that as well. They do get paid to do what they do. They do get good benefits. But in addition to that, listen to all the other, as you listen to these shows, as you listen to these people tell you how they got into Parks and Rec, what excites them about Parks and Rec, why they stay in Parks and Rec. I want you to listen to the other forms of compensation they're getting on a daily basis doing their work. And so, does it bring joy into their life knowing that, seeing the smiles on the kids' faces when they do a summer program and the little kids show up and 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 they leave with happy faces, or they catch their first pop fly, or you see grandparents pushing children on swings and knowing that you're orchestrating all that property being maintained and you're watching your community flourish and you're watching yourself make a difference in your community. You're watching the impact. You're able to make sure as a professional that certain parts of your community aren't excluded from participating in community life, park life, that we have something and we're actually thinking about having something for those that are typically excluded. This is where we have this equity, this inclusion mindset to where like we're looking in our community. Parks and Rec people look in their community with the question in their mind, am I leaving anybody out? Is anybody getting left out? Is there someone in my community that's underserved, say the elderly, and maybe we can do a little more to serve the older people in our community? Are there handicapped children in our community? Is there um, maybe a culture that is kind of new to this community, or they're just a small minority in this community that we want to make sure we have something for them as well? Do we have something for athletes? Do we have something for non-athletes? Do we have something for parents? Do we have something for families? Do we have something do we have community events, special events? And this is their minds. This is what they get to work on every single day is bringing health and well-being into their community, all parts of their community, not just all the different walks of life and not just all the different cultures, but also the different ages. So from cradle to grave, Parks and Rec are taking a step back and managing. I'll give you a great example. One of the communities I interviewed, they've actually done the hard work, and I encourage everyone in Parks and Rec. If you're in Parks and Rec and you find yourself representing your agency, your department to the rest of the world, whether this be elected officials, parents, coworkers, people outside of Parks and Rec, um, and you're representing them, you should have some rough numbers, just from a number standpoint. Now, there's so many things that Parks and Rec does that you cannot put a price tag on, but you can certainly put a price tag on some of this real estate. And I was interviewing someone that had about 40,000 people, and they had done the due diligence and hard work of estimating the rough value that that real estate portfolio would command, the price it would command if it was put up for sale, if your entire park system was put up for sale, or if you just had to go repurchase a duplicate with the same physical locations within your city, and then all the assets on top of it, whether it be a playground, splash pad, community center, swimming pool, you name it. And their a rough estimate was this 40,000 person city had a rough estimate of $168 million replacement cost. Um, And so how many of you out there that run a city roughly that size, you could estimate yours is around that number. Maybe if it's a city closer to a big metropolitan area, it might be even more, it might be 2 or 300 million. But how many of you are thinking that I am managing a $168 million real estate portfolio with a $5 to $10 million operating budget and a staff of 42 people, half of which are just maintaining this facility, the other half of which are running programs and special events, full-time, nonstop, 40 hours a week times 42 with a $5 million operating budget wind at their back, steering a $168 million ship real estate portfolio. And that's what we're using to bring special events. That's where we're hosting our special events. This is where we're hosting our senior center. These are the fields that we're doing sports and summer camps on. This is where our community comes and plays pickleball. This is where they park. This is the water that we have to each one. This is all the electricity. These are the light switch that comes on at night when they're playing nighttime sports. All of this collectively is worth 168 million. I've got a budget of 5 million. Last year we recovered an additional 5%, 10%, 500,000. We were able to land a grant, and these directors are orchestrating this whole thing around the clock. I never, until I dug this deep, 300, over almost 100 episodes, 300 interviews in, I never realized the sheer magnitude and scale. I think Parks Department are truly undervalued. And I know we say that, but what does that mean? What does that mean you're undervalued? I mean, what I mean when I say it's undervalued is if someone had to come into your city and replicate what Parks and Rec does, and let's say I live in that 40,000 person town, I would have never thought it would have taken $168 million worth of assets and a $5 to $8 million budget to replicate what goes on in that city in Parks and Rec. I would have not put the number that high. And then when I started to go into the property values that have been increased around the parks, homes like in New Orleans, where I'm at, by Audubon Park, it's the home prices are double the ones that touch the park. One block over, they're half. So the only thing that's different between that house and that house is one touches the park, one's 100 foot off the park. And so what does that do to the real estate portfolio of all the people in and around the city and parks? And where do you take your kids to the playground at? You go to the park. And what is that moment that a grandparent spends with a child worth? What is that moment during that what are the memories created during that summer program for that child that's in fifth grade and makes friends and learns to work on a team and learns these life lessons that coaches teach little kids? You can't even put a price tag on those, but we certainly can put a price tag on how much does that playground cost and how much does the dirt underneath it and how much does it cost to maintain it and who's maintaining it, what skill do they have, and then who's managing this whole thing times all the other real estate that is in the hands of these leaders in Parks and Rec directors, assistant directors, superintendents, and everybody underneath them that's putting on these events, managing these real estate assets. And that's just one city. Now multiply that times every single city in America. And this has been going on for well over 100 years, sometimes 200. I mean, New Orleans is 300 years old, and there has been common space for the community to meet since the beginning. And this common space might have just started out with just public land that just got trees on it, and somebody in the city cuts the grass, and that's it. That was the early days. And then somebody died and left another chunk of land, and the city put a playground on it. And then the community got together, and we said, well, we want a community swimming pool. Let's pitch in funds and get tax money and grants. And well, who's going to maintain the pool? Well, we're going to have to hire a second employee to maintain the pool facility. And then they just continue to grow. And these common space in these cities have huge value from a dollar standpoint. They cost a fortune to maintain. They take an army of specialists to put on these programs and maintain these facilities. and they bring massive value into our lives because having a safe place that's clean and groomed and well maintained to go take a stroll in the middle of your city where you're not having to drive, out of the city because everything's owned by everybody else and it's all private land. We actually have public land in the middle of our cities, um, that are made, that the thought that goes in to what are we going to do with this, and the people in charge are thinking, how do we improve the lives of everyone in our community, with this land, with this program, with this asset that sits on top of this land, in the hearts of our city, in the hearts of our subdivisions, and neighborhood parks, and just go walking. I encourage everyone, Parks and Rec people alike, whether you're in Parks and Rec or you're just in a city with a park, go walk into any neighborhood park or any community center and just start looking at what's around you. What's the value of it? And you start counting the trees. How old are these trees? Who's keeping these trees healthy? uh, what does it mean to have 300 oak trees planted in city park that are 200 and 300 years old, and you'll find underneath these trees kids playing, couples walking, picnics, walking trails interweaved all in between them. And what are people doing? They're just unplugging for a minute, putting themselves in nature. Their home is 3 blocks away, and then some park director or somebody gets the bright idea that why don't we put a really good playground, something that a kid could never have in their own backyard, where families can come together, turn their kids loose, and they can go on a little playground adventure while the parents sit in the shade of a tree in a beautiful park maintained by the city. And then next to that, they have like a place to park. That's not in the grass or on a dirt road. It's a paved parking lot. Who's blowing that off? Who's maintaining that cement? Who's fixing the cracks? And then there's a bathroom and a water fountain, and it's got electricity to it. And all this infrastructure is being maintained. Um, and honestly, I know this might make sense to Parks and Rec people that have been there the whole time, but, in all my years of working with Parks and Rec, I've never heard somebody explain it just simply like I'm doing right now. And I was so close to the Parks and Rec community for well over a decade, servicing this community, not ever thinking of the sheer volume of the impact that they have on people's lives. And every person is impacted by this because there's not 1 square inch of America that does not have a Parks and Rec department assigned to this general land. And so the land of New Orleans, the geographical boundary that says this is you're in New Orleans, you're outside of New Orleans, okay? And then, like Kevin Adams over at Park Forest, Illinois, he's given a geographical boundary. He's like, Kevin, everything inside this boundary, this land, inside this land, we've got all types of green spaces. Some of it's just a median. He may say, we're going to plant some trees and flowers here. Some cars pass it, and we got to maintain it, make it look pretty. But then over here, we've got like this 20-acre park, and we're going to put all this playground equipment and a trail. And maybe this is where we're going to put our community center. This is the center of the community center. And out of that, we're going to open it up for weddings, receptions, family reunions, basketball games, picnics, fairs, festivals, Easter egg hunts. And it's just where the community is going to come together, and we're just going to do a bunch of stuff. And we're going to get input for the community. We're going to get volunteers, and we're going to get part-time summer help staff, high schoolers to help manage the lifeguarding of the pool, right? And then we're going to have full-timers, and then we've got all this budget. And by the way, this one community center is like $30 million. Everything, all the improvements and stuff. And man, I'm like, I want to be in charge. I am volunteering to be the sales force for Parks and Recreation nationwide to tell this message. I'm like, these guys are really underselling themselves. Like to think that when we start cutting expenses on the government level that we would want to start cutting here? I would be thinking, this is the last place I want to cut. And I'm not saying that, policemen and firemen are not vital when it comes to safety and security and, helping people in their time of need when their house is on fire. We need somebody equipped to come put it out. Yes, I get their value. But a lot of times we think the value that Parks and Rec brings to our community is disposable. It's a want, not a need. But if one thing I remember from COVID, and I was kind of locked in my house in New Orleans, couldn't go anywhere to keep safe distance, all that mess, I it really spent more time in the parks. I spent more time walking, and we all saw how our park system's foot traffic doubled and tripled and quadrupled. There was not a spare bench to sit on in New Orleans, as at least as was my experience. And we got to see during our tough time that this was a vital part of mental and emotional and physical health was these common spaces. And imagine if they had just deleted every park in America during COVID. Where do you go? Would you just walk in the street? Um, you go walk in a Walmart parking lot. How does that make you feel? I mean, land is land, right? One's paved, they're both maintained. You can park in both, but I mean, do you really feel inspired when you walk through? No, no, I'm not trying to bash on Walmart, just making a point that there's a huge difference between park your car here and go in and shop and park your car here and take a break. Take your kid to a swing. Let's plant some gorgeous trees. Let's a little pond. Let's maybe even have an elderly center where they can congregate and be around, just other elderly people doing um, elderly people things. Playing bingo, talking about grandkids, just having a place to go because a lot of times when you're an elderly person, you're by yourself, and so and you're not very mobile, and so a lot of just as an example of a community that's well served by Parks and Rec, that I don't see the service that Parks and Recreation provides to elderly as an option, as um, a want. I think it's a need, especially for those people. They don't have any transportation. They don't have a lot of people many times in their life. And this is their one time they can get out, get dressed, go to a center and spend time with their community. And to think you're going to take this away from them, that's you know what, that's not necessary. The only thing that's necessary is electricity, sewer, police force, and fire. Everything else, you don't get to enjoy life. I think if anything, in my mind, this is the most important thing. The quality of life. What's the point of living life if it's just um, if you start deleting a lot of these things that make life worth living, that make your community a great place to live, a beautiful place to live, full of nature, full of people, full of family, full of children laughing, full of sports, full of, I mean, I've heard so many directors say, these are the things that I get to do for my community. These are, I get to, not I have to. Um, but I think there are, I just wanted to mainly point out how vital the work they're doing is and how important it is. And that if I had my vote, it's let's keep it going, let's expand it because I believe it's important. I believe it's important. And and I believe we should be able to express that value even more profoundly. That I encourage all people in Parks and Rec, especially directors, know your numbers, know your value, have a speed roll ready with whoever you're talking to. If they're a numbers person and they just want to say, what's the value of Parks and Rec? Um, well, and if they're a numbers guy, you know who you're talking to, know your audience, right? And if there's somebody that, sees things in dollars and cents, then having say, well, actually, um, we're sitting on top of a $168 million real estate portfolio that takes about $5 million a year as an operating budget with 42 full timers, half of which are just in maintenance, the other half are in programming. And then we're improving this $168 million real estate portfolio at a pace of $8 million a year. That's our capital expense. That's our capex. And to someone that's maybe an accountant, a bean counter, someone that's trying to maybe expand or see what it takes to keep things going, those are important numbers for them. And it's important that you know those numbers. That way you can express your needs as a department in dollars and cents, but then also have ready the intangibles, the things that you can't really put a price tag on, because you can follow that up and say, but those are the numbers, but how do you put a price tag on, when a man proposes to his future wife, or a child is, on a baseball team and they win or they get a home run, or a child learns to swim? What is that worth? I mean, can you put a dollar figure on this life-saving skill set of learning how to swim? Um, and then you could literally go on and on and on about the things you cannot put a price tag on. Sorry, that's my killer dog back there. So it's just it's something I think we should get better at. We should get better at representing our community in a meaningful way. And sorry, I have somebody knocking at the door here. Just wanted y'all to know this is a live performance, and that it's sometimes you do get disrupted. But anyway, so what do we have coming up? We do have a lot going on in Parks and Recreation with the daily Parks and Rec show, and I just wanted to kind of let y'all know. In addition to this 12 noon show, we have something called YPN. And YPN is the Young Professionals Network. It is, imagine you're just now getting into Parks and Recreation. There's so much that needs to be done. There's so much wisdom that we need to absorb. And where do you start? I mean, I was talking to Kevin, and I talked to people that have done this for 20 or 30 years, and their ability to um let me see if I can put it straight. They'll literally be sitting on 20 to 30 years of ongoing learning. And so imagine a park and rec director that has been doing his job for 20 or 30 years, trying to get in a high degree of mastery. Oh, wait, hold on one second. Oh, looking at, hold on one second. No, you can sign it. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so here you are trying to here you are, a young professional, and you're trying to follow in the footsteps of someone that's been at this for 20 or 30 years, and they've invested in themselves. They've hold on one second. Sorry, guys. So here you are sitting on top of all this wisdom, and it's taken you a lifetime to accumulate everything that you've had. So imagine going to all of these park and rec conventions, and you have all this professional training, and you've come to the end of managing a park system for 20 years, 30 years, and now you're the young professional that's taking their place. You're a young Parks and Rec director. The sheer volume of things there are to master in Parks and Rec is intimidating. Where do you start? And I had a really good conversation. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up his name. Not well, Seve's another good one. Matthew. So go look at episode 92. Matthew Elliman spent 40 years in Parks and Rec, 20 years as a director. And this was most of our conversation. So go listen to episode 92, and we talk about how you really just have to commit yourself to a lifetime of learning, to a lifetime of being able to um, always be investing in yourself, always be reaching out, always be, putting yourself in a position to where you can um, improve yourself, because it is a lot to learn. It takes a lot to be able to um, manage all this real estate, all this team, all the chaos. And the only thing you can do really is to just dive in and do it. Commit yourself to a lifetime of learning, and surround yourself by people like Matthew. And that really is the purpose of this show, is to really find people like Matthew, like Jamie Sabak, like Seve, like Lydia Gutfeld. I mean, I can go through these are kind of like the people that have been at it a while. Lydia was another great one, episode 91. Same thing with Mark Flores, episode 90. I mean, you just go down the list. These are people that have been doing this. And so having an episode dedicated to their why, what they've learned, for the young professionals to just kind of look at how they're doing it, I think is extremely valuable. Um, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I just kind of wanted to share those with the group, and I wanted to be able to let people know that I certainly appreciate all the retired veterans and those that are coming to the end of their career and agreeing to come on this show, share their story. Let me tell you what's happening on the back end. I am getting lots of messages thanking me, and I'm sending that thank you back to everyone that's been on the show for everything that we're doing here at the Daily Parks and Rec Show. But really, I'm not the story. I'm literally just creating the platform for these people that have dedicated their life to Parks and Rec to come and tell um, their why they're doing what they're doing, to tell their story, to share any wisdom they've gained over 20, 30 years of doing this. And it's impacting a lot of these young professionals. Y'all are like the all-star team. They're looking up to y'all to try to figure out how they're going to do what you just did within their community. And this wisdom and advice and know-how is valuable to them. Okay, so on Fridays, though, we're going to have a show. This coming Friday is the first Friday um, of of uh, of the Young Professionals Network Friday show, and we're going to try to do this every Friday. So at 12 noon this Friday, instead of our regular programmed show, we're going to have young professionals, and it's going to be more like a panel. So we're going to have like 5 or 6 of us on there, and we're going to figure out what this is going to be about. But we just wanted to dedicate a show to those young professionals that are trying to take the baton, pass on the torch, or the torch is being passed to them, and trying to fill the shoes of the great ones that came before them with 20 and 30 years of experience. So anyway, that's going to be our Friday show. That's starting this Friday. I know I've been talking about this for a while, but this Friday is the day, April 4th. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's the real thing. Now maybe the episode might feel like an April Fool's joke. Now we also have an 11 o'clock show, 11 to 12. That's in the same process of working itself out, but we will be launching here shortly a maintenance show starting at 11 Eastern, Monday through Friday. So I'm already putting the feelers out. We've already got a great chat going on LinkedIn of people that are contributing to this. If you have a great superintendent, if you have someone in park maintenance, if you have someone that's just a master at field irrigation, or a master at just maintaining the urban forest inside, please get them in touch with me, or just give me a name. I'm on LinkedIn 24/7, so send me their name. This is a guy that we used. He's a consultant, but he's like a tree whisperer, and he helps us manage our 500 live oaks in the city that we're in charge of maintaining, something like that. We want to give these professionals, these masters in their craft, a platform to share that wisdom with everyone that's maintaining urban forests, with everyone that's figuring out irrigation and maintaining a golf course, or understanding about chemical overspray, or different how to combat weeds on a baseball field, the ones that stick you or something like that. And that is literally half of all the effort that goes into Parks and Recreation, just maintaining these massive real estate portfolios that need an army of guys nonstop chasing it around with all these skilled craftsmen that they have. And so we're going to have a show just for them. And so right now we're kind of building out the network. I previously had a pretty extensive network of directors and assistant directors. So that's why I was able to launch this noon show without a lot of input. But I'm not as connected inside the maintenance side of Parks and Recreation. This is where I need y'all's help to get me in touch with them. So nothing special. You can literally find my name on LinkedIn and say, you need to get this guy on your show to speak about fill in the blank, park maintenance. He is a pro kind of thing. So that's going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. And then we've also, shout out to Jamie Sabak, her topic, and I say it's her topic. There's actually a couple others that are really good at this topic. Devin does a great job at it. Matthew, another great job at it. Seve, great job at it. These are people that focus on the importance of sustainability. And when I say sustainability, I mean, you have got to financially sustain your park system. You cannot let it run out of money because you've said yes and yes and yes so many times that you didn't realize you were overcommitting yourself financially, and you can't do all these things. And you have to know your numbers. You have to stay within your boundaries, and you have to learn to say no until we can manage what we've got. Maybe growing is not the right answer. It's such a powerful message, and such a message that we don't speak enough about. I'm even thinking about doing a regular show just about that topic, about funding, financing, making sure that we can sustain what we have. When we talk about sustainability, that's what we're talking about in Parks and Rec. This isn't some like sustainable energy like I come from, whether oil or solar or wind or renewables. No, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is, can you sustain the park system you have with the funding that you have? Or are you dependent on this tax money coming in? Can we think about ways to recover some of the costs without excluding people that we're trying to keep included? And what you'll find that there are some cities out there that are doing an amazing job. Seve told me yesterday he has a city that has a 350% recovery cost. How are they doing it? I want to know. I want to get them on this show. Share your secrets, because a lot of us are at 2%. 3%. Our goal is 6%. How is there a city out there tripling their expenses? And maybe even that's not the goal. If we can just get me from 6% to 8%, that would be a huge win. And so, as an example of what we can use this platform for, of the Daily Parks and Rec show, as a media company, this is the kind of content I want to capture. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing as an opportunity of what can we do. Also, shout out to all the content creators that are working for me. I say working for me, working for the media company, working for y'all, producing really good content. Check out the last one that we just released with Matthew. No. Sorry, Devin. Go check out episode number 88. Devin Stalder. They made a little country music lingo for this. They had a little intro. They did a highlight reel. I just thought they did a really good job checking out that 1 or 2 minute. And that's the newest evolution of what we do in Parks and the Daily Parks and Rec show to create compelling, fun, exciting, educational content for this industry, ever improving. So anything we can do to do better with that, we appreciate all the input and feedback that y'all are giving us. And today, last ask, if you would like to help us grow this community by getting the word out and even suggesting ways that we can improve it and grow it, then please, again, reach out to me. I've created a group today, I think with Ivan, and he was the first one that I have. And then I have I think I have about a dozen other people that this is right up their alley. And they can just be on a group chat and see how can we help get the word out. Who else do we want on this? And just to kind of help us feed the content creators here working at the Daily Parks and Rec show. And that's one way that you can do it. So if any of this is interesting to you, whether you're a director, and you have a story to tell, please come on the show and let's get that message out there for you. If you are a young professionals network and the Friday show interests you, let's get involved with that. If you are in maintenance or you know someone that does that part well, let's get them involved in that. And then if you're some legend like Seve or Jamie Sabak, let's get you your own segment here, because your message is too important to not have airtime. And so there are those out there like that are doing a great job, have powerful messages that need to be shared. And let's just be honest, a lot of our park systems are so strapped for cash, they don't have the budget to send people to a state conference, an NRPA, where some of these people are speaking, but we can put them on this show and they can go to YouTube for free and watch something very valuable that they might only get at a convention. But no, we're going to create a library for free that they can. Well, it's not free as in it does cost to produce it. We'll find a way to fund it, but for them to go press play on YouTube, that's nothing. And that's what we're trying to do, is get that wisdom and information in the hands of the people out there doing all the work that I've said that they're doing, managing these park systems and increasing our quality of life in our communities nationwide 24/7. So let's get them the information they need, so that if there is a chunk of wisdom that would be a game changer for that city, or maybe just increase its efficiency by 1%, let's not let somebody not recording that wisdom, putting it online, and them having at least access, having the ability to press play and get it, go back into their park system and apply that 1% efficiency savings. Let's build that. That's what we're doing here at the Daily Parks and Rec show. So it's an honor to be able to do this. I appreciate y'all giving me the chance to do this. Now, if you want to support this show right now, you can support it by buying our LED lights. There's a little commercial on the end. This is what I used to do in a former life. I brought this one fixture right here into this so that it would literally just be my funding source. We have some other funding sources coming around, but they're a little bit slower. This is just something that was within my power to be able to say, well, we can, if you need an LED light, 100% of the profit that we get from that goes back into building this show. So please consider buying it from us. Now, we're not one of these. This is just literally a world-class LED light that has 100,000-hour lifespan. And you just hand to your people in maintenance and say, you see those 3 lights up, take that whole fixture down, put this sucker up. This thing's not going to back off for 100,000 hours. It does what I say it's going to do. And I'm telling you, you put this light up, it's going to do what I'm telling you it's going to do. It's just going to come on, and you'll be dead before it doesn't do that. If that's something you need, this is the light for you. If you need a whole system and poles and controls and everything, there's companies that do that and that do it well and that I support. But if you don't have 150,000 or 250,000 for a little neighborhood baseball field, you can buy 30 of these for $25,000 and relamp an entire field, or you can buy one for $850. So it's very budget friendly, but you don't sacrifice on the quality. And if you want to control it with your cell phone, I have a great partner that does that as well, very cheaply, very inefficiently. So you get super high quality. And the real reason that we're selling these things is to support the Daily Parks and Rec show and everything that I've said that we're trying to do and accomplish, and to pay our designers and our videographers and our social media managers to grow this network out. So if that sounds like something you want to do, please consider helping us out in that way. If not, get involved. Let's grow this network out. And let's kind of lift this industry up and bring it into this digital age of social media, content creation, and have our own network dedicated to Parks and Recreation. I'm Craig LeBlanc, the doorman here, your host of the Daily Parks and Rec show, 12 noon, Monday through Friday. I will see y'all here again tomorrow. Y'all have an awesome rest of your week. Love you guys. Bye.